टेंशन मत लीजिए। IIFL फाइनेंस से झटपट गोल्ड लोन लीजिए और बिजनेस आगे बढ़ाइए।
आपके जैसे सुपर हीरोज ऐसी छोटी मोटी प्रॉब्लम से थोड़ी ना रुकते हैं, इसीलिए लाइफ जब भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दे तो अपनी सुपर पावर, अपना गोल्ड यूज करिए और IIFL फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए।
IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Very good morning. You're watching News 9. I'm Karthik Malhotra. This is Morning Brief at 9. And on the show today, vegetable as well as the non-veg thali prices fall sharply in the month of October. We'll tell you how much cheaper your thali has become. Also on the show, Lenskart is all set for its main board IPO listing today. Is it going to be in line with the sharp decline in the grey market premium? We'll tell you on the show this morning. And of course, in global stories, Donald Trump says that the US government may eventually be coming out of its lockdown. That and more on this edition of Morning Brief at 9. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. First up, let's bring you all the headlines that we're tracking for you this Monday morning.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा के संग त्योहार की उमंग।
Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is in Melbourne to strengthen India-Australia economic partnership, pushes for ambitious comprehensive cooperation agreement and deeper trade ties. India and New Zealand conclude free trade agreement talks, aim for comprehensive pact to boost trade, investments and supply chain strength. Market regulator SEBI cautions investors against unregulated digital gold schemes, urges investment only through SEBI-registered intermediaries and regulated gold products like ETFs and EGRs. China Eastern resumes Shanghai-Delhi flights after 5-year gap, marking revival of India-China air links and boosting trade and cultural connectivity. New Delhi wakes up to toxic smog as AQI crosses 400 in several areas of the national capital region, stubble burning behind 31% of pollution levels. Lenskart to debut on NSE today with 70,000 crore rupee valuation, but grey market premium drops sharply to just 11 rupees a share. Global news, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman says AI has moved beyond chatbots, marking a new era where machines can think, discover and achieve breakthroughs faster than humans. Staying with news on artificial intelligence, India's deep tech sector set to hit $30 billion by 2030, driven by defense innovation, robotics boom and India's rise as a trusted, low-cost tech hub. And in corporate news, hackers divert 2.16 crore rupees in cyber fraud after breaching email exchange between Group Pharmaceuticals and Dr. Reddy's laboratories.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा के संग त्योहार की उमंग।
Top story this morning, Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal held a series of high-level bilateral discussions in Melbourne, Australia, aimed at deepening the economic partnership between the two countries. Goyal met with Australia's Minister for Trade and Tourism, Senator Don Farrell, and Minister for Skills and Training, Andrew Giles. The talks focused on unlocking the full potential of the India-Australia economic partnership, especially through an ambitious and balanced Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement or CECA. Both sides reviewed the progress made so far in negotiations and explored new pathways to boost trade, investment and cooperation across key sectors, including goods, services and skill development. Bilateral merchandise trade between India and Australia stood at more than $24 billion in the last financial year, FY 24-25. India's exports alone grew 14% in the previous financial year, which is FY 23-24, and another 8% in the last financial year. Goyal also met with Indian business representatives in Australia alongside his Australian counterparts. And remember, Goyal hopped on to Australia just after concluding his talks in New Zealand, where the proposed free trade agreement between India and New Zealand is moving forward steadily and is expected to boost trade, deepen investments and strengthen supply chain resilience. This according to the Commerce Ministry. Remember, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal met his New Zealand counterpart Todd McClay to give fresh impetus to negotiations. The fourth round of talks held in Auckland and Rotorua wrapped up with both sides acknowledging steady progress and reaffirming their commitment to a modern and comprehensive trade pact. Detailed discussions covered trade in goods and services, economic cooperation as well as rules of origin. The ministry said both countries are determined to conclude the agreement early in a way that's balanced and mutually beneficial. Bilateral trade between India and New Zealand stood at just $1.3 billion in FY 24-25, but that's a 49% jump year on year. The free trade agreement, once finalized, could unlock major opportunities across agriculture, food processing, renewable energy, pharmaceuticals, education, as well as the services sector. Meanwhile, market regulator SEBI, or the Securities and Exchange Board of India, has issued a public advisory cautioning investors against buying or trading in digital gold or e-gold products being sold on various online platforms. The market regulator made it clear that these products do not fall under SEBI's regulatory purview, meaning they are not officially recognized or supervised by the market regulator. In its advisory titled Caution to Public Regarding Dealing in Digital Gold, SEBI said investors looking to invest in gold should do so only through SEBI-regulated products such as gold exchange-traded funds or ETFs, exchange-traded commodity derivatives and electronic gold receipts or EGRs, which are traded on stock exchanges. As India's electric vehicle market gains momentum, two global EV giants, Tesla and VinFast, are making headlines for taking very different routes on the same road. Both these companies, Tesla and VinFast, entered India at a time when the EV market has begun to boom, with October 2025 alone recording all-time retail volumes at a high, driven by festive demand, fresh launches and an expanding charging network. According to government data on the Vahan dashboard, Vietnam's VinFast appears to be moving faster in India than its more established and more expensive American rival Tesla, which is still treading cautiously. Now, Tesla's India journey, years in the making, finally began in mid-2025 with the Model Y priced between 59.89 lakh rupees and 67.89 lakh rupees, targeting luxury buyers in cities like Mumbai and Delhi. VinFast, on the other hand, made a decisive debut earlier this year at the Bharat Mobility Expo, introducing its VF6 and VF7 SUVs priced between a much cheaper 16.49 lakh rupees and 25.49 lakh rupees, a clear push to capture India's mid-range EV market where the real growth potentially lies. And after a gap of more than 5 years, direct flights between India and mainland China are finally back in the skies, with China Eastern Airlines starting its Shanghai-Delhi service on Sunday. The inaugural flight MU563 took off from Shanghai Pudong International Airport with 248 passengers on board, marking a strong 95% occupancy. The airline is now the first Chinese mainland carrier in 2025 to resume direct passenger flights to India. The Shanghai-Delhi route is being seen as a key corridor linking two major economic hubs, expected to boost trade, business and cultural exchanges between the two countries. The flights will operate 3 times a week on Wednesdays, Saturdays and Sundays using the wide-body Airbus A330 aircraft. Meanwhile, India's Indigo is also set to start its daily Delhi-Guangzhou service from today, adding further momentum to gradual revival of air connectivity between India and China. On to a story now from the world of artificial intelligence. Even as AI continues to advance rapidly, according to OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, the next big leap is already here, one where artificial intelligence begins to think and discover like humans too. Sam Altman says most people still see AI as just chatbots or smarter search tools, but today's systems can already outperform top human minds in complex intellectual challenges. He explained that AI has evolved from doing tasks that take humans seconds to heading those that take hours and soon even days or weeks. With the cost of intelligence dropping 40-fold each year, the pace of progress is staggering. By 2026, OpenAI expects AI systems to make small scientific discoveries, and by 2028, likely major breakthroughs. Altman admits, and I quote him, that we don't yet know how to think about systems that can do in hours what humans would take centuries to achieve, unquote. Staying with developments from the world of artificial intelligence, India's own deep tech sector is on track for exponential growth, with its market opportunity projected to hit as much as $30 billion by the year 2030, according to a new report by Redseer Strategy Consultants. The surge is being marked by rising defense innovation and a global boom in robotics. Over the past decade, India's defense budget has doubled to nearly $80 billion, outpacing growth rates seen even in US and China. The report says India's deep tech opportunity has grown 2.5 times in just 5 years and is quickly emerging as the world's only trusted low-cost innovation hub outside of China. Globally, the robotics market, which is currently worth just $60 billion, is expected to soar to as high as $230 billion by the year 2030, with humanoid robots alone creating a $10 billion opportunity. Now, India's production costs for humanoids are about 73% lower than in US, giving it a major competitive edge. The report highlights immediate opportunities in autonomous systems, AI-enabled training and drone technologies, calling deep tech the next economic engine driving India's growth story. And in a shocking case of cyber fraud, over 2.16 crore rupees has been siphoned off after hackers reportedly breached email communications between Group Pharmaceuticals in Bengaluru and Dr. Reddy's laboratories in Hyderabad. According to an FIR filed on November 5th, Group Pharmaceuticals was expecting a payment from Dr. Reddy's for goods supplied. But on November 3rd, cyber criminals allegedly hacked into the email exchange between the two companies and sent fake payment instructions from a spoofed email ID that looked almost identical to the real one. Now, believing the message to be genuine, Dr. Reddy's finance team transferred 2.16 crore rupees to a Bank of Baroda account, which turned out to be fake. The fraud came to light soon after, when Group Pharmaceuticals realized the payment hadn't reached them. A complaint has now been filed and police have launched an investigation to trace the culprits and recover the stolen funds. Authorities have also urged companies to double-check email authenticity and bank details before making large transactions. And in a relief to consumers across the country, and not just those who are at the bottom of the pyramid, but a commodity which is consumed by pretty much everybody, food prices in the month of October have fallen sharply. Now, veg thali prices have dropped as much as 17%, while non-veg thali prices, though they have fallen, are a lot more moderate at 12%. Now, what's driving this fall in prices are, of course, the prices of onions, potatoes, tomatoes, as well as pulses, which have all fallen sharply. Potato prices are down 31% year on year in the month of October, while tomato prices have fallen about 40% in the same period. Meanwhile, the biggest beneficiary have been onion prices, which have slipped to half from the last year. But in other news coming as perhaps not as much of a relief to non-vegetarians, boiler prices have fallen just about 6% year on year. But all is not that cheap. Some prices have indeed inched upwards, and this happens to be vegetable oil prices that have risen 11% year on year, and liquefied petroleum gas or LPG prices are up 6% year on year. And even as consumers cheer the falling food prices, something that residents of Delhi NCR are not cheering about is the high AQI. Delhi has slipped back into a choking smog blanket as air quality has once again crashed to dangerous levels. The national capital woke up to a thick haze today, with pollution touching yet again the very poor category and many areas crossing into the severe zone as well. The 24-hour average AQI is at 361 according to the Central Pollution Control Board. In total, 24 of the 39 monitoring stations in Delhi reported AQI over 400, the worst level this season so far. The AQI, or the air, is no cleaner across Delhi NCR's Noida and Delhi, which has averaged 391. Greater Noida received 366, while Ghaziabad 381, but Gurugram stood at a much better 252 level. Our data shows stubble burning accounts for over 31% of Delhi's PM 2.5 today, the highest share. Vehicle emissions follow at over 14%. Punjab has seen more than 3,200 farm fires since mid-September. Haryana, however, has shown a sharp drop in burning cases. These are visuals coming in from Noida early in the morning. The thick haze surrounding the streets and engulfing the city. Mask advisory has been issued by some schools, but schools so far have not been shut down owing to the pollution levels and the high pollution levels there. These are visuals from early morning across 4 major stops in Delhi NCR, including ITO, Palam, where the airport is situated, Geeta Colony in East Delhi, as well as Noida. And these visuals show that the city is indeed engulfed in a toxic layer of smog early morning. And in other corporate news, especially those coming from the world of startups, Bhavish Agarwal-led Ola Electric has dismissed media reports that claimed an unnamed former LG Energy Solution executive attempted to pass on pouch cell technology IPs to Ola Electric. Ola Electric, in a statement, has refuted reports from South Korea about the alleged stolen battery cell technology. Ola Electric has now alleged that fear of losing market opportunities prompted the foreign rival to attack its indigenous battery innovation of the 4680 Bharat cell. Now, reports from South Korea alleged that an unnamed former LG Energy Solution executive attempted to pass on pouch cell technology IPs to Ola Electric. An LG Energy Solution official was also quoted as confirming that the company had identified the situation early and alerted India's authorities immediately. Now, Ola Electric has termed the report as misleading and completely baseless. Now, questioning the timing of the report at a time when Ola's 4680 Bharat cell has entered commercial production, the company asserted that this 4680 battery cell represents India's first indigenous large format cell and directly competes with the Korean majors in the domestic market. Ola Electric asserted that it has as many as 720 patent filings, of which 124 are granted, and Ola Cell Technologies has established India's first operational gigafactory built with a cumulative investment of 2,500 crore rupees. Now remember, this news also comes just days after Moody's Ratings has downgraded Ola Electric's patent, ANI Technologies Private Limited, corporate family ratings and the ratings on the guaranteed senior secured term loan borrowed by Ola Netherlands to a CAA1 from a B3 with a negative outlook. And time for a very short break, but a lot more coming up on the other side, especially news around the Lenskart IPO, which goes and rings the bell at NSE today. We will try and get you live visuals of that, but for now, we will slip into a short break.
भारत सरकार ने सभी देशवासियों के हित में टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस से जीएसटी पूरी तरह से हटाकर जीरो कर दिया है। इससे टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस काफी सस्ता हो गया है। पॉलिसी बाजार पर अब 1 करोड़ का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 400 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
On the auspicious occasion of the 150th birth anniversary of Iron Man Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, realizing our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's vision of Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat, under the leadership of the Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Bhupendra Bhai Patel, and the guidance of the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Shri Harsh Sanghvi. From the 1st to 15th November, Grand Festival Bharat Parv will be held at the Statue of Unity, Ekta Nagar. This unique festival will celebrate traditional cuisines, exquisite handicrafts, and captivating artistic performances. Along with the fascinating tableaus from different states, major highlights will be the tourist attractions of Ekta Nagar Tourism Circuit. 15th November will mark the grand celebration of the birth anniversary of Bhagwan Birsa Munda. Do visit Bharat Parv, where the colors of every state's culture will blossom.
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
भाई साहब, आपने भारत कनेक्ट का नाम सुना है?
एक और सोशल मीडिया ऐप।
सोशल मीडिया ऐप नहीं, वो 700 से ज्यादा ऐप्स पे बिल पेमेंट्स पॉसिबल बनाते हैं।
बढ़िया है।
आप हमें जानते नहीं पर मानते जरूर हैं। हम हैं भारत कनेक्ट।
क्वालिटी पे इतना कॉन्फिडेंस, इसलिए बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
लाइफ जब भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दे तो अपनी सुपर पावर, अपना गोल्ड यूज करिए और IIFL फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए।
IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
Welcome back. You're watching News 9. This is Morning Brief at 9. Let's bring you all the action from the markets. But first up, something which is really exciting for a lot of those who had participated in its IPO. Well, Lenskart is all set to ring the bell at the National Stock Exchange today, a sign of its arrival on the main board on the browsers. Now, founder Piyush Goyal, in an emotional note on LinkedIn, said yesterday that it feels like day zero. Bansal also thanked every teammate and customer ahead of the listing that has been making headlines over its extremely high valuations of almost 70,000 crore rupees. Now, through the IPO, Lenskart has raised almost 7,300 crore rupees, comprising a fresh issue of 5.35 crore equity shares worth 2,150 crore rupees and an offer for sale component of 12.76 crore shares amounting to as much as 5,128 crore rupees. These are live visuals coming from the National Stock Exchange ahead of the ringing of the bell by Piyush Goyal and his team of Lenskart. Now remember, the Lenskart IPO price band was set at 382 rupees to 402 rupees per share. But the ringing of the bell at NSE today may ring in an era of more logical investor sentiment if the revised grey market premium is anything to go by. The trend for Lenskart shares in the grey market is subdued. Now, this indicates that in the grey market, the shares are trading at a premium of only 11 rupees a share, much lower than almost 100 rupees a share premium during the subscription dates of the IPO. Investors who believe the IPO will give them a 25% listing day gain may now have to contend with only 2.5% premium as per grey market trends. These are live visuals coming in from the National Stock Exchange. But a few days ago, News9 had spoken internally about this case of high valuations. And News9's editor international R. Sridharan had an interesting take on the 70,000 crore rupee valuation, especially coming just months after Piyush Goyal had bought back a few equity shares from investors at just 52 rupees a share before the stock price at an IPO was set at over 382 rupees. Let's listen in to that conversation even as we watch these live visuals from the National Stock Exchange.
There are two aspects to this whole IPO thing. And what I find very disturbing as a business editor, as someone who's been around and looked at IPOs and looked at promoters, is the fact that just 4 months ago, Piyush Goyal gets a bunch of his investors, which are largely private equity and family offices, to sell them, to buy share from them at a valuation of only 52 rupees per piece, which works out to 8,500 crore. Now, if you're a private equity investor or you're a family office, if I knew that just 4 months down the road, there's going to be an IPO coming that's going to value the company at 8 times of that price, would I sell? So first question, did Piyush Goyal actually tell these investors that there's an IPO that's coming down the road? Was there full disclosure? I don't know, but I would be very surprised, and I would ask, know from private equity investors if they knew there's an IPO coming at a higher price, at an 8x the price which they have been offered. Why would they offer any kind of shares to Piyush Goyal? Especially given that it would not be fair to their LPs, the people who have put money in these funds, and these general partners who run these funds are fiduciary responsibility. That is number one. Now, second is, if Piyush Goyal has indeed hidden this fact from the private equity investors and probably told them that I'm not considering an IPO, but suddenly sprung this on them, then there is a breach of trust. He, as the promoter, as a director of the company, Piyush Goyal has a fiduciary responsibility to all shareholders, including the private equity investors who are there. So this is a clear breach. In this case, it would be a clear breach of fiduciary responsibility on Piyush Goyal's part. And there are provisions in Companies Act. There's also provisions in Indian Penal Code for such breach of fiduciary responsibility.
Can I just throw a little bit of a twist to this narrative, which I'm also, by the way, I'm on your side and I agree that it is overvalued. But I was running through some numbers and I was just looking at the number of stores that Titan I Plus has versus the number of stores that Lenskart operates. And remember, Titan has been around much longer. Titan Eyewear has been around at least, it had a head start of at least a decade, if not more, right?
So about two decades.
Right. So a head start over Lenskart of at least a decade, right? And Titan I Plus runs a total of only 300 stores as compared to more than 2,800 stores that Lenskart runs, out of which about 2,200 stores are run in India alone. By the way, it's also now a global company in that sense because it also has retail in Singapore, in Dubai, in a few other countries, a few other cities. So the point is that there is a model that eyewear as a category, there are more number of people, I was reading again somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, some 65 million additional people likely to wear specs until 2030. So that's a big market opportunity, number one. Number two, Lenskart has shown that it can actually scale up a business, which was a need-based business, to a lifestyle business, where if you go to a Lenskart outlet, you are potentially not buying just one frame, right? Because the average price of a frame in Lenskart with the lenses is about 1,500 rupees. The average ticket size of every customer who goes to a Lenskart store is about 2,300 rupees. So I think it's fair at some level to assume that people on an average, 2 out of every 3 people who are visiting a Lenskart store are buying 2 pairs of specs and not one.
Also because,
and perhaps because they have the 1+1 offer.
They have the 1+1 offer.
Yes,
sure, you can't blame them for that, right? So you're buying perhaps your spectacles as a lifestyle gear and not just a need. And the fact that you've been able to scale up your business to a point that you're running 2,800 stores, you have turned profitable, I think 128 crore rupees of pure profits, and then some accounting fix which took the overall profitability
Financial
to about
charges,
260 odd crore rupees. So the fact is that Lenskart has shown investors that this could be a category like Nykaa, which also has high PE, but cosmetics is not just use-based, it's also want-based, right? We've seen that case even Paytm also when it listed, right? Or Eternal, Zomato, right? Zomato also turned profitable and Blinkit is yet to turn profitable. But we are seeing Eternal, the parent company, the holding company, is now part of the Sensex 30. It is among the 30 most valuable companies on the basis of what people would earlier call a tech
these
product.
are exactly technology companies. Now you can say that Lenskart also sells online, but that doesn't make you a tech company per se, right?
But does it make Zomato or Eternal a tech company? Because you're running warehouses, you're employing gig workers, you're providing them, the entire logistics chain. So you've also gone beyond tech. You're also keeping.
Yeah, but it's not like an AI company that it's
exactly.
like
It's not pure tech.
It's
not pure tech.
Exactly.
All right, and that was a conversation we had just a few days ago ahead of this mega Lenskart listing on both the National Stock Exchange as well as BSE today. And meanwhile, live visuals coming in from that listing ceremony at the National Stock Exchange. Remember, at 10 o'clock today, Piyush Goyal is expected to ring the bell, marking in pretty much a new era for Indian startups listing on the main board and at an extremely high valuation expected to be 70,000 crore rupees. But remember, the days of the IPO subscription that saw even the Lenskart stock get oversubscribed as much as 28 times. The grey market premium now indicates that the premium has fallen sharply. At one point, the grey market premium was at about 100 rupees per share, giving it a 25% premium. But now it is up just about 11%, 11 rupees or so at 2.5%. Meanwhile, let's cut across straight to Piyush Goyal, who's speaking just ahead of the Lenskart listing today.
Standing here today, like Nidhi said, feels surreal. It feels a journey of dreams, but also destiny, which I truly believe in. A moment like this is built not in a year. It took us 15 years. By parents who first let their children think out of the ordinary and dream in the first place. By teammates who joined us when no one else did. By investors who backed us when no one else was willing to. I know TCM, Ronnie, Manas, you are here, and all other shareholders who backed us. And so are my parents-in-law, who also backed me when nothing else was there. By every family member, children, friends, well-wisher, who made the Lenskart dream their own. And by his grace and my guru, without which nothing is possible. Before I say anything else, thank you. Thank you to all of you. To make this day possible, NSE, Sir, Ashish ji, SEBI, all our bankers, lawyers, partners, incoming investors, the Lenskart team, Abhishek, Nikunj, Lavanya, and the teams that are working with them, I'm deeply humbled and grateful for the faith and the hard work that you put in Lenskart. Today, on this floor, surrounded by the people who helped make this dream real, it feels like not an end of a journey. It feels like beginning of one. It feels like day zero. Over the last couple of days, I have been reflecting on this moment. I shared some thoughts last night, but standing here today, they feel even more real. So let me share with you from here where they truly belong.
Piyush Goyal there speaking from the floor of the National Stock Exchange just ahead of ringing that bell, which may ring in a new era for startup IPOs. Kranti Batini, equity strategist at Wealth Mill Security, joins me this morning. Good morning, Kranti. Pleasure having you back here with us on News 9. We are taking a look at those visuals coming in from NSE, where Piyush Goyal is speaking right now as we speak, ahead of that mammoth 70,000 crore rupee expected valuation of Lenskart. But the grey market premium has actually slipped sharply to just about 11 rupees or so per share. Are investors finally making sense of the absurd valuation numbers? And what do you think is going to happen to their expectations of booking massive gains on listing day?
Yeah, Karthik, good morning to you. Yeah, definitely it received, contrary to the popular view of the retail and the social media, the subscribe could able to sail through, and in fact it got oversubscribed despite of the high valuation theory that has been floating in the market.
Right.
Karthik, on a lighter note, if you see the last few years, the IPO's boom is concerned, it is phenomenal in India. In fact, the secondary market is in a consolidation phase, whereas the primary market has been booming. There is a great saying on the Wall Street. In the beginning of the IPO boom, the startups and the company promoters have a vision, and the retail investors have money. At the end of the IPO boom, investors have vision and the promoters have money. So by and large, these startups have been doing their way, and they're quite successful selling their businesses at a astronomical valuations since this boom is going up.
That's right.
So whether the end of this boom, whether the investors will have money or the vision, they left out with the vision, is the greater question.
Right.
But
absolutely.
by and large, these startups are learning in a very hard way post-listing to become profitable, because end of the day, in business, in any business, equity markets, the key driver is how these companies producing profits and increasing the key revenue parameters. This is crux in any of these businesses. Going ahead, how these businesses are going to increase their profitability, this is the key matrix the market is looking forward.
Absolutely.
And how I am buying the growth. The company might be making profit, but what price I am paying for the growth? That is crux. By and large, if you see the Lenskart IPO is concerned, the valuations are stretched, and it's fully priced in IPO. And the grey market premium has reduced subsequently in the recent past. But post-listing, okay, how the company is going to increase their key revenue parameters, that's going to play a vital role. By and large, what we are sensing, if you look at most of these IPOs, there would be a cooling period post-listing. So during this cooling period, the companies are getting consolidated. Around 80% of the companies post-listing, they touched their IPO price. They might get the listing prices, but they went down post-listing. So Lenskart is the exception, we need to see. But to make any kind of serious investments are concerned, okay, just wait for post-listing, just gauge the quarterly earnings for at least 1-2 quarters to make any kind of a serious investment is concerned. If I am the retail investor, just doing for the listing gains are concerned, if you are getting a beautiful listing gain, book some profit, take back your money from the table. And if you want to make some serious listing, just wait and watch the show, how the stock performance is going to be moving in the next few weeks and few days. There can be exceptions like LG, which had a decent valuations. It given 50% return on the day of listing. Okay, if those kind of abnormal moves are coming, book for some profit.
Right.
And for the serious investments, the cooling period during that time one can accumulate, Karthik.
All right, Kranti. Well, you were speaking about vision and wealth, and what better company than Lenskart to actually use the term vision for. Let's just hope that the vision for the future is as clear as perhaps the lenses that they reportedly sell. But coming specifically again to when you mentioned that that perhaps if you get great listing day gains, then take some cash off the table. How would you qualify or quantify those handsome gains on listing day? Do you think anything above 10% to 12% could be considered as decent listing day gains, or do you think investors should still hope for that 100 rupees a share premium and try and wait for those 25% listing day gains?
Just to tweak this very interesting thing, Karthik, you asked, okay, what kind of listing gains can I expect? One thing is, what quantum of money, okay, that's left over for the investors, okay, and what kind of margin of safety this company is offering for the investor. Is there still value left in this company in the near term? Definitely one can wait for some more momentum to come. But if it's a fully priced in IPO, as you rightly mentioned, 10 to 12% listing gains, if I'm getting, I'm fabulous. I'm making wonderful return. I'm on the day of listing, I can take some profit from the table. In a savings account or a fixed deposit, I have to wait for a 12% gains, means I have to wait for 2 years.
Right.
But whereas on the listing day, I'm getting here on the day one. So anything between 12 to 12% return is a great return for any retail investor.
Got it. 10 to 12%. Take cash off the table. Otherwise, wait and watch for the vision and not just the wealth that the founders create. Kranti Bateni, always a pleasure having you here with us on Newsline. Thank you so much for input. Meanwhile, let's cut back to the live feed that we're getting for you from the National Stock Exchange. Piyush Goyal is speaking.
The optometrists who test eyes, the store teams that open the shutter every day before sunrise and they greet the customers, our home eye checkup teams which visit home. You are the reason Lenskart exists. You are the builders of this dream. A big round of applause for all of them. To my co-founders, Amit, Sumit and Neha, and to those who have been part of this journey, Ramnik, Ashwini, Shuji, Take, Marco, Borga, Surain, the GeoIQ team, and many more who care about this dream as much as I do, and usually even more. I am forever grateful. At Lenskart,
all right, Piyush Goyal there, just minutes ahead of Lenskart ringing the bell on the National Stock Exchange ahead of the big listing day today. Meanwhile, let's look at a mood check on the Indian markets. It seems to be off that consolidation phase that it had been all of last week. In fact, as we speak, Sensex and Nifty are both up almost 0.3% or so. Nifty 50 a little closer to that 25,600 resistance level. Meanwhile, Sensex inching closer to the 83,500 odd levels. You're seeing similar action even come from the mid-cap and the small-cap space, the broader markets as they call it, with the mid-cap 100 and the small-cap 100 both inching a little ahead in the green this morning. Look at the Nifty 50 heat map, and it seems that the momentum seems to be driven today by stocks of Reliance as well as ONGC. Remember, this comes even as India says that it is diversifying its sources of energy. So Reliance, ONGC, both stocks up more than 1% or so in trade this morning. Meanwhile, even the IT sector has got some surprises built in today. Talking of the IT pack, Infosys is up about 1% or so, more than 1% in trade this morning. This comes as details of the founders and the share buyback story which emerged over the weekend. So Infosys stocks are up, taking with it the entire IT pack with TCS, HCL Tech as well as Wipro, all up in trade this morning. Not too much action on the auto space except for Mahindra & Mahindra, which is slipping in trade this morning. Mahindra & Mahindra stocks are down about 2/3 of a percentage point. Maruti Suzuki, Bajaj Auto trading absolutely flat. On the converse side, you've got Tata Motors. Remember, after the demerger, Tata Motors private vehicles, which continues to operate in the NSE window, is up about 0.8% or so in trade this morning. So that's the news as far as the market on this Monday morning, shedding all its inhibitions with FPIs becoming net sellers again and inching a little in the green this morning. And before we slip into the break, let's take a look at some of the global stories that we're following for you this Monday morning. After 40 days of paralysis, US lawmakers reportedly strike a bipartisan agreement to restore federal funding, with President Donald Trump saying a deal to end the standoff is now, to quote him, very close. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the prolonged government shutdown is hitting key American industries, draining federal reserves and threatening to slow broader economic growth. American air travel crisis widens due to government shutdown as cancellations top 2,000 nationwide, with over 4 million passengers impacted since October 1st, according to industry estimates. BBC Director General Tim Davie and Head of News Deborah Turnes resign amid an editing controversy over US President Donald Trump's 2021 speech, prompting Trump to call the journalists corrupt and election meddlers. Calling critics fools, Donald Trump says tariffs made the US richer and stronger, pledging payouts worth $2,000 per person from tariff revenue, even as the Supreme Court weighs his trade powers. US Vice President J.D. Vance praises the National Marine Corps as America's greatest weapon, vowing continued investment in training, equipment, and family support for service members. US drug maker Pfizer beats Danish company Novo Nordisk in a heated race for the next wave of weight loss drugs, expanding its foothold in the booming obesity treatment market. Ukraine's cross-border attacks leave over 20,000 people in Russia without electricity, escalating tensions as winter nears and infrastructure comes under renewed fire. Typhoon Fungwang displaces more than 1 million people in Philippines before moving into the South China Sea, with rescue teams racing to reach cut-off communities. These stories on the other side of the break. You're watching Morning Brief at 9.
भारत सरकार ने सभी देशवासियों के हित में हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस से जीएसटी पूरी तरह से हटाकर 0 कर दिया है। इससे हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस काफी सस्ता हो गया है। पॉलिसी बाजार पर अब 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 550 रुपए महीने से शुरू। policybazaar.com।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
यही मौका है बिजनेस को बढ़ाने का, पर पैसा।
अपनी सुपर पावर यूज करने का टाइम आ गया है।
आप टेंशन मत लीजिए, IIFL फाइनेंस से झटपट गोल्ड लोन लीजिए और बिजनेस आगे बढ़ाइए।
आपके जैसे सुपर हीरोज ऐसी छोटी मोटी प्रॉब्लम से थोड़ी ना रुकते हैं, इसीलिए लाइफ जब भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दे तो अपनी सुपर पावर, अपना गोल्ड यूज करिए और IIFL फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए।
IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
Welcome back. You're watching News 9. This is Morning Brief at 9. Let's begin with our international coverage this morning with the US government shutdown. After 40 days of the longest government shutdown in the United States history, senators from both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, have reportedly reached a bipartisan deal to restore federal funding and get key government operations running yet again. Now, reports from news outlets including CNN and Fox News say lawmakers struck a stopgap funding plan through January following weeks of deadlock over healthcare subsidies, food benefits, and President Donald Trump's dismissal of federal workers during the shutdown. Now, speaking after returning to Washington from Mar-a-Lago, President Trump said a deal to end the shutdown was close.
Like we're getting very close to the shutdown. We'll never agree to give any substantial money or any money to really prisoners, illegals that come into our country. And I think the Democrats understand that. And it looks like we're getting close to the shutdown ending. You'll know very soon. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warned over the weekend that the economic fallout from the prolonged government shutdown is worsening, with the impact now rippling across industries and straining federal finances. Scott Bessent said the situation is deteriorating day by day as the funding impasse disrupts public projects, delays spending, and threatens broader financial stability. He in fact cautioned that the shutdown could slash U.S. economic growth by nearly half this quarter, adding that under President Donald Trump, the economy had been performing strongly in recent months before the shutdown's drag began to show. Well, the United States Airlines have cancelled cumulatively over 2,100 flights on Sunday as the impact of the prolonged government shutdown continued to ripple through the nation's air travel system. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned that if the shutdown extends into the Thanksgiving holiday season, air traffic could slow to a trickle. The shutdown, now in its third day, has hit 40 of the country's busiest airports, with flight cancellations mounting as unpaid air traffic controllers increasingly fail to report for duty. According to flight tracking website FlightAware, there were 7,000 delays on Sunday alone, adding to more than 2,500 flight cancellations since Friday. Industry group Airlines for American estimate that over 4 million passengers have already been affected since October 1st. US markets ended a volatile week on a mixed note on Friday. The Nasdaq closed lower while the S&P 500 and Dow Jones posted modest late session gains as investors balanced concerns over the record-long government shutdown, high-tech valuations and lingering economic uncertainty. Take a look.
U.S. stocks ended mixed on Friday as the Dow and S&P 500 gained marginally, but the tech-heavy Nasdaq slipped 0.2% to register its biggest weekly percentage drop in about 7 months. All three stock indexes spent much of the session sharply lower, but the S&P 500 and Dow turned higher late in the day, following reports of potential progress on a resolution to the record-long government shutdown. Still, concerns over sky-high valuations of AI-related momentum stocks continued to weigh on the Nasdaq, says Eric Lynch, managing director and co-portfolio manager at Suncoast Equity Management.
It's a continuation of the last several days where, despite having a great earnings season, earnings up 13% year over year, there's been some profit taking going on. We've had a big run since April. Tech is kind of getting hit the hardest. Earnings misses, typically only down 2% on average, or down 7% this earnings season. So what you're seeing today is just an extension of concern about big tech, AI supercycle, and those tech names are leading the downside.
Stocks on the move Friday included Tesla, which fell more than 3.5% a day after shareholders approved a $1 trillion pay package, the largest in history, for CEO Elon Musk. Shares of Expedia surged over 17.5% after the travel platform reported solid bookings from its business-to-business segment. And shares of Take-Two Interactive fell 8% following the company's decision to delay the launch of its popular video game Grand Theft Auto 6 to November 2026.
And moving on now, the BBC has been rocked by a scandal. Its Director General Tim Davie and Head of News Deborah Turness have resigned following a controversy over the editing of a documentary about US President Donald Trump. The backlash erupted after the BBC's flagship Panorama program was accused of misleadingly editing Trump's 6th January 2021 speech, with critics saying the segment altered the meaning of his remarks. In the original version of the speech, Trump had urged his supporters to cheer on senators and congressmen, but in the edited clip, it appeared he had told them to fight like hell and march with him to the Capitol. The documentary, titled "Trump: A Second Chance?" aired after just a week before last year's US election, and the controversy quickly escalated into a political storm. President Trump reacted sharply, calling the journalists involved in corrupt and accusing them of trying to tip the scales of a presidential election. The BBC acknowledged the error in editorial judgment, and the fallout has now claimed two of its senior-most executives. Well, US President Donald Trump has hit back at critiques of his tariff policies, calling them fools in an early morning post on Truth Social. Trump said tariffs have made the United States the richest and most respected country in the world, and announced plans for a $2,000 dividend per person, excluding high-income earners. The payment, he said, would come from revenue generated through these tariffs. The announcement comes as the US Supreme Court weighs the legality of Trump's sweeping tariff powers, the most significant of his economic and foreign policy strategy. With that, we come to an end of this edition of the Morning Brief at 9. News continues right here on News 9, so stay tuned.
What is to the nines? In literal terms, it's perfection. But to us, it's not just a phrase, it's an attitude. One that starts at your desk and sends a statement to the world. To the nines is about taking charge. It's a way of life where every seam, every fold, is crafted with excellence. It's timeless elegance and uncompromising quality made for the corner office. It's the ideas that inspire redefining order and elevating the tabletop. To the nines, for the leaders of today and the visionaries of tomorrow.
The GOAT or Macross satire is back. Cyrus Roja. From politics to pop culture, from your WhatsApp forwards to breaking news, nothing and no one is safe.
Relax, guys, relax. I only roast the truth, and the truth is always hilarious. Too much pressure.
Get ready for news caustic, bold, sharp, unfiltered, 100% Cyrus.
Light, camera.